Welcome to the Radical Responsibility Revolution podcast. This is where we are transforming lives, inspiring you to reclaim your health, your wealth, and the power of your mind. Here we share actionable insights, inviting you to turn inwards and design your life of purpose and abundance. Welcome back to another episode of Radical Responsibility Revolution. And today's guest is a woman who doesn't just talk about healing, she has lived it, embodied it, and alchemized it into purpose. Joelle Barbaro, oh my goodness, is a registered nurse, intuitive transformational coach, author, and self described spiritual midwife who guides people back to their authentic soul by healing the root. Oh, you know how much we love that, not the symptom. What
Right.
purpose does that serve? Her journey includes navigating childhood trauma, teen pregnancy, divorce, a brutal custody battle, systemic injustice, multiple dark nights of the soul, and a profound awakening that led her from traditional medicine into intuitive shadow integrated healing work. Wow, I can't wait to dive into this. Joelle's work bridges nervous system wisdom, trauma integration, feminine leadership, and radical self responsibility, all through the lens of compassion, sovereignty, and truth. She's the author of The Rebellious Soul, Unveiling the Journey Back to Your Authentic Soul, a children's book on light and grounding, and a featured contributor in Slaying USA, Miami edition. This is a conversation about healing without bypassing, reclaiming your voice, listening to the body before it screams. Some of us haven't done that, and choosing sovereignty over survival. I am so excited to have you, Joelle. And I want to start just by asking, who are you today in 2026? What is Joelle doing to serve this beautiful planet?
So 2026 for me is going to be a year 9 in my personal journey. So
Mm.
I am actually stepping more into my soul purpose, my soul path, and along with my business and the clients that I'm serving and the souls that I'm helping to find their way back to their inner healer. I'm also shedding and leaving things that no longer serve me, that are, maybe continuing on my journey and shedding. So in 2026, I believe this is going to be an amazing year for me personally, for growth, and also just to evolve divinity life coaching to see what is next, what souls are going to come to me for their own inner journey. And I'm really excited about what this year's going to bring. I have a feeling it's going to be a fast and furious year. And I'm ready to kind of flow with it and just be open to what God and the universe has for me personally and for my business.
Yeah, I love that. And I believe 2026 is going to be phenomenal. And can you believe that January is almost over? We've almost
Yeah,
completed one full month. That's crazy. One
yeah.
full moon cycle. But I love the word that you used, shedding, because sometimes we get hooked up on words and I want to let go of the limiting beliefs and all of that. But the whole idea of shedding, just talk about that a little bit, why you use that particular word and what does that mean to you?
So shedding, I think I've learned, and what the word means to me is releasing those layers of oneself that we found in our shadows. So many people are afraid to look at your shadow, and that's the core of how I help people to heal, is because our shadows are an integrating part of finding our light. We can't find the light without embodying our shadows. So when I say shedding, it's shedding layers of that and shedding things that we maybe bring to light. Not that things are not part of us or things didn't happen, but it's we no longer need to embody or live in that. We've maybe faced our traumas, and now we don't need to be identified by that anymore. So that's kind of what I mean by shedding, is just taking things that no longer serve us personally, financially, in your business relationships, and kind of putting them to the side. We don't fit in that suit anymore. It's like a shoe that doesn't fit anymore. It
Yeah.
served us, and we now, embodied what it stood for, but we don't identify with those pieces of ourself anymore.
Right. I love that so much as you're saying the word shedding several times, and I just am having this visual of a snake. I live in Texas, so there's snakes everywhere here. And so to see a snake's shedded skin without the snake any longer, they're not holding on to that. Like we as humans have this tendency that we think I've let something go, but you're still holding on to it.
Right.
So I want you to share your story because your story is fascinating of how you came to write your book, how you came to be who you are today. What I know, and after interviewing so many women, is that we have this hero's heroine's journey that we've been on, that we met some dragons and some lions, tigers, and bears that allow us to be who we are. So tell us a couple of those stories of your dragons that you experienced in your life, because your
Yeah.
ability to alchemize all of that is quite remarkable.
I think when you become very familiar with your soul's journey, and you don't become familiar with your soul's journey until you go through these dark nights of the soul. And, mine probably started as a child. From what I can remember, I never really felt, I don't know if I felt different, or I just felt maybe not comfortable in who I was, or whatever my abilities might have been back then. So I think that, as you're younger, you start to pick up masks with things. And I think I was always an empath. And there's two great things about being an empath. There's an empath that's the wounded empath, where that's where we survive, right? We have to know how to control the room or the situation. And through life, when you learn to be a healed empath, it's very powerful, because then you're able to kind of help people to heal. But through my journey, it started out in, an alcoholic family, so there was a lot of chaos, there was a lot of uncertainty. I think I picked up a lot of childhood wounds from that. And then I became, through my teenage years, I became pregnant. And I can remember saying that I always felt like by having this child at 17, I was always going to have someone to love me, because I think I always
Mhm.
went through this feeling of not feeling seen. Um, and funny enough, that God's plan is for me to be seen. So I had to kind of heal through all those wounds. So later on in life, I got married, and was married for 18 years, but was not quite feeling maybe satisfied in the marriage or seen, and that childhood wound still came through. And I had an affair through my marriage, and through that I felt so much guilt that I attempted suicide through my divorce. And God had a different plan. He had a big plan. That was not, I was coming back, and I was going to really walk through the fire after that. And I did. I walked through the fire, not because I was being punished. I was walking through the fire because I needed to I needed to heal the wounds, and I needed to walk that fire to be the medicine now for others. Because I really truly believe, when we're helping others from a level of understanding, of a level of the pain that we alchemized, it's so much more powerful than anything we can ever read or learn in a book. Then I went through a terrible custody battle, dealt with some corruption in the legal system, wound up being arrested 9 times through my custody, because I kept breaking restraining orders, because my son was with my ex-husband, and he wasn't having him go to school. I don't have any charges, but I had 27 nursing licenses. So, that part of it was like being harassed through the court system from my ex-husband, trying to kind of ruin my life. But what it did is it taught me resilience. And I just kind of kept moving through the process. Um, Wound up having to kind of fight a Supreme Court judge who was corrupt. And ultimately, I raised all three of my children. I have a very close relationship with all three of my children. And, you know, we bonded and we grew through it. And when you really understand your soul path and your soul purpose, none of this was a mistake. None of it was a mistake. It was what I was supposed to learn through my journey, what my children were supposed to learn through their journey. And they've all turned out to be amazing children. And I just had my first grandson. And because of going through these and alchemizing the pain, broke generational curses. And now he's the new bloodline. So he's coming in with, not as much karma or trauma. He's coming in for the new. So through all that, you know, Divinity Life Coaching was born. I felt that I was always searching for something, I think, through my life. And I always thought maybe it was finding my soulmate, but then it wasn't. When I moved away to Florida, I found my soul and went through more journeys of healing. And we had a Category 5 hurricane. And in the same year, I had a terrible car accident, 4-car accident. That was not my fault, but I did get injured. And through all of that, it was just more awakenings, more evolved, more pieces of the puzzle coming through. And then, Divinity Life Coaching was born. And my first book was Rebellious Soul, and that really was a story of resilience, of to let people know that even through trauma, even through mistakes, even through anything you go through, if you keep following those breadcrumbs and you keep following your soul, I do believe that you find your passion, your purpose, but it's under your trauma. Our path and our purpose and our gifts are under those karmic lessons or trauma. So I wouldn't change it. I mean, I if you asked me maybe 10 years ago if I was enjoying what I was going through, no, but I wouldn't change it. It brought me to where I am. And now if I can be a light, or a lighthouse to somebody who is going through terrible divorce or going through trauma or going through relationship issues and attachments and not understanding their path, I can guide them. To teach them, though, they are their own healer. We are our own healer, but sometimes we need a guide. We need a
Yeah.
guide to kind of teach us to go inward. And I do believe the success with clients going inward is because they're coming to the aha moment. They're
Mhm.
coming to their own story to
Yeah.
accept versus maybe someone telling them in therapy of how they should feel. This is more, it's helping them find out and remember who they are.
I love that you've used the word alchemize several times because to me, that is the process of becoming authentic, even though I'm calling authentic so 2023, because everybody's using it now. It's another buzzword. When we go through trauma and drama and then transmute it, alchemize it, metal, and turning it into gold, which is the foundation of alchemization, we're the same person. We're the same chemical DNA, and yet we are a different substance. And I love what you've said that it's not about learning something. It isn't about reading a book. It's about living this. Speak to that a little bit. We can pull the covers up over our head. We can cry in our beer, or we can say, this is really directing us to my highest vision of myself.
So here's how I look at it this too is a lot of people say it's about being honest with yourself. There's one thing I find about being honest and then finding your truth. And they're two different things, right? We can be honest with things, but then we're finding our truth. And our truth is really learning um who we are inside. It's as women, we are mothers, we are, we're taking care of things. Some of us have careers and raising kids and maybe going through a divorce, trying to build a business and multitasking all those things. But I find, and I'm trying to teach clients that when we learn to be present and really find that truth, even if it's just a couple moments a day, as we start to build that, we can sit silent, and that's really where the truth comes in the silence, because there's so much noise in our lives. There's so much noise in the world. So with clients, I really am trying to teach them to to find your truth, that it's okay if you feel a certain way about something. You don't need to feel guilty for it. So many people carry false guilt. I talk to my daughter about this all the time. In her human design, it's right in her birth, like how she carries false guilt for things. And it's like, you got to really sit with things and think, is this my truth? Because it's really not. So when you really can shed more of those things with who you are and who you want to be, you can find the path of who you're meant to be in between all of that. There's who we think we are, who we're supposed to be, and then who we're meant to be. And I really think that our feelings are valid. We don't have to make our feelings clean for somebody else. And, I talk to people, and I'm surprised how many clients don't want to journal at first until they really understand the
Mhm.
piece with that, because they feel like someone's going to read it, someone's going to find it. And, I say, I call it brain dumping. You don't have to have any structure in how you do it. You could sit down at the end of the day and just write your market list, and then just kind of write about a feeling, and not filter it. I don't care how you
Mhm.
put it down. Don't filter it. It doesn't have to make sense. But through all these things, it's like better out than in. And as you continue to do these types of things, you are finding your truth, because now it's written down, and it might be a month later that you read it, but you can say, wow, maybe I don't resonate with that anymore, as you keep going through this process. I'll tell you, I also am very honest with clients and people in general. This isn't easy work. Your soul has to be ready for this, to alchemize that. I believe
Mhm.
that. I believe some people are very much still sleeping, and then some people truly are awakening. And the people that are awakening want to know who they are. They want to kind of get into that and understand why they go through things in their life. And then
Mhm.
once you truly start to understand that, you start to see that little crack of the light coming through those shadows. And it's a journey. You have different levels of evolution with your healing. And I'm very honest to say, will there ever be a time where you're fully healed? No, because we're always alchemizing pain. And guess what? We may just alchemize our trauma, and we may realize now why we have attachment styles in our relationships, and we may heal that, but then we might have a loss of a parent. And so there's more pain that you're working through. So it's an evolution of a journey of life.
Yeah. That's so brilliant to talk about journaling that way, that we do have this tendency to hold back, not only that somebody's going to read it, but that somehow or another we're going to disclose more of ourselves. They're afraid that somehow or another they're going to see that part of themselves, that
Right.
shadow part. We use the word journal, but think about it. As young girls, we were encouraged to have diaries. We'd lock them up with
Right.
these little keys. But it
Exactly.
is those honest, deep emotions, and there is nothing about any emotion that is wrong or bad. It's just an emotion, and it's that shame that's underlying it. That's where the juice is. So I love that
Right.
you shared that with us. You talked about light in coming through a crack. You were talking about be a lighthouse and not a lifeboat.
Right. Yes.
So I want you to expand on that a little bit.
Because a lot of people will say, and I, as I went through my journey and my healing and stuff, I really know that this is the work I'm supposed to do. This is, it started with becoming a nurse, and then it led me to my true path. So, so many people will say, well, how are you going to heal me? Well, here's the thing, I'm not. And anybody who says they're going to heal you, they're not healing you. And there's no quick fix. it took so many years of all this trauma, not just years, generations, a lot of
Mhm.
generational trauma that we carry in our DNA. So it's not like you're going to be fixed overnight, but I'm a light. When I say I'm a lighthouse, I'm leading you to what's already in you. And that's why it's like when I say about, well, Spirit gave me being a spiritual midwife, because I'm helping you birth what's already in you. You already have these things in you. It's just underneath everything. It's underneath the layers of your subconscious beliefs too. And that's why too, through this type of journey, we are tapping into those subconscious beliefs, because that's where the root is. That's the
Yeah.
true healing. We can't do surface level healing and then think it's gonna, anybody can change. We want to transform. Okay, so transformation, think about it. You're in a cocoon and you're in there doing your work, and then eventually you're going to be that butterfly. And
Yeah.
as you find those pieces of yourself, you're never going to squish yourself back into that cocoon, because there's freedom with this. There's a
Yeah.
real freedom with embracing those shadows, those pieces of
Yeah.
yourself. People carry so much shame and so
Mhm.
much self-loathing and low self-worth that we could have picked up from, a bully in school, a family member as a little child. We don't realize. And I talk to my kids now about how much more I know, and now having my new grandson, and knowing his makeup, it's like how we really imprint our children without even realizing how much we can imprint them. So, you know, we're all here for a purpose, and
Yeah.
finding who we truly are at our core is our biggest life job. And
Yes.
for people that never find this journey, which I believe every soul has a calling to it. Sometimes, it may take many incarnations, sometimes it may take many lessons, many failed relationships to finally something, you felt enough pain. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, transformation comes with pain. I wish it was easier to say than that, but nobody says, oh, I think I'm going to work on myself when you're, having the best time of your life. It always comes with pain.
We are comfort creatures. We want to be in comfort. And the saying that you learn more from your failures than you do from your successes is a perfect example of that. If we're just successful all the time, or we're in this trajectory that you just said that nothing's going wrong, we never get to grow. We never get to push outside of our comfort zones. I want to key into this generational aspect. I love talking about generational trauma or imprinting, because we think that everything is just in this lifetime, which a lot of it is. I'm not taking away from that. And yet, I look at my own example. I know that I was imprinted by my mother in utero. I was an illegitimate child, and yet she had her own trauma that came from her mother, that came from her parents. So I want you to just kind of expand on that a little bit.
Well, a lot of times too, in generations too, you'll see certain patterns passed down. And I'll use one example, I'll use a couple examples, but alcoholism or drug
Mhm,
addiction, those things are
mhm.
very much generational passed down in certain lines. It could be gambling, or it could be suppression. So, say in my maternal line, 7 generations ago was probably the last time there was somebody who's alchemizing like me. And I know this through channeling and past life regression. So that healer in our line was suppressed, whether from, past lives being punished for it. I know that's the case. And then it kind of stopped. So then what happens is the suppression came down through the generational lines, or the healer, and then there's always that generational curse breaker, which I happen to be. And so I started to get that feeling in my soul again about the nursing. So now I'm coming back into what our line always has been, is a line of like in healing medicine women, intuitives, but it was suppressed very much so, like in my grandmother. And my grandmother had a little bit, my mother was very suppressed. So of course when it hits me, I'm having to break through those generational curses of being seen and really speaking my truth. So I even had problems with my thyroid, like thyroid issues, nodules, because it was, and the fear of speaking. And once I'm, birthing this business and knowing that I'm going to be doing these things and speaking, I had to work through a lot of that. Like, I don't want to say witch woundy, but it's kind of like a wound that generationally we carried of suppression, of speaking truth, or helping people to understand they are a healer. They do have their own gifts. They do have purpose and passion. So in my generation, it showed that way through the feminine maternal line. But then there's also, things that might pass down on my father's line, that maybe I feel my nephew, he's the generational curse breaker on that line. And you can see, I mean, I could see it from being an intuitive, but generational curse breakers usually don't have an easy life. We don't have an easy life because we're going to break the generational curses that other generations couldn't do. And then
Yeah.
somebody will come in the line, and you're chosen to do it. And we don't real and it's funny because as you go through the healing process, your soul leads you. I never
Mhm.
knew certain dialogue, or even like words, and the next thing you know, I'm understanding these things because I'm remembering. It's a really, it's a trippy journal. It's a trippy journey. It's like
Yes.
learning all these things about who you are, and then having this intuitive spiritual gifts, and being able to sit with your client and tap into their energy field, and kind of know how they're feeling, so that you can ask the right questions to trigger them, so that they're coming to the conclusion themselves. It's really a beautiful thing to come online,
Yeah,
especially
absolutely.
when you're using it to be that
Hmm.
lighthouse.
Yes,
Yeah.
that lighthouse, that way shower. So that brings me to being way showers as women, especially women that have reached or getting close to midlife. Because midlife, if you think about it, if we live to be 100, which most people don't, you're at 50, take it down to 45, which is 90. That's when we start to step into our brains rewire because we're going into menopause, and we are the wisdom bearers. We are
Yes.
the wisdom bearers on the planet. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about feminine energy, how you see that evolving on the planet. We are lifting up this feminine energy on the planet to recalibrate, to balance all of the masculines generationally. Like women have
Yes.
got imprinted generationally as a whole planet of how we are supposed to show up in the world. And yet I see a shift happening. So, what is your observation of what you see on the planet right now with
Well, you
women
know
and
what I think
feminine
too, and I,
energy?
I, I honestly think that it's beautiful how it's happening, because to really step into our powers, we need to be in more of our feminine. And what's happened over the years is I feel like women were so much in our masculine. And this is another reason why relationships fail too, because women are so in their masculine energy and men are in their feminine. And we carry both energies, but they're so unbalanced.
Yeah.
And I think that your true beauty and essence of your gifts come in your feminine. And this was a very big lesson for me to have to learn because of all I went through. I feel, I carry one wing and one sword. You know what I mean? Like I'm balanced. But as you're going through all your trials in life, you are in that masculine because you're kind of like at a war, and you're wearing that armor. But there's something really beautiful about shedding that armor, and now being in that feminine, and realize that I'm meant to, women are meant to receive. Our bodies are meant to receive, we are meant to receive. And when we can finally embody and regulate our nervous system and learn to receive, I feel like you become magnetic. You become magnetic to helping people heal. You become magnetic in attracting the things in your life that we're supposed to, because now we're like that river flowing down. And if a rock comes, we learn to flow around it. But we've been so busy paddling upstream that our lives are have been so difficult. So I do see personally now that I do feel the universe as a whole is awakening more. But I think women are not coming out being like in that roughness. I think they are coming and waking up more of their
Yeah.
feminine power, which is extremely powerful. We
Yes, it
are
is.
portals for life. I mean, and
Hmm.
when you realize how powerful women are and the beauty of that, and then you realize that's why for years we've been so suppressed because of that.
Hmm.
But when that's coming, it's really to embody and to heal. It's to
Hmm.
heal, to uplift other women, and to even to be the peace for men. If we could
Hmm.
get that right, and I'm actually starting teaching people, it's a new product I'm offering about understanding truly why they're attracting the wrong people, because
Hmm.
people, women are like, oh, I keep meeting the wrong men. You need to look at why. There's something in you. We are attracting what that is what's in you. So until you understand that, you're never going to have a successful relationship. And that's really kind of what I'm honing in on now, because
Yeah.
it's going in a weird way. It's going in the back door, because I'm still going to be taking them down to shadow work and inner child
Hmm.
healing, because that's where it starts. But
Yeah.
I feel like it's easier to connect with people. Either it's, a relationship, because that's where a lot of people struggle without realizing the spiritual component of why.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what's happening with women now, if and they're coming into their gifts and coming into understanding that our softness, and this was huge for me to learn, our
Hmm.
softness is truly our power. It really is truly what makes us magnificent to everything, and
Hmm.
magnetic.
Yeah. I love how you talked about the our dysregulated nervous system, like going swimming upstream. And I'm pretty sure salmon swim upstream, and don't they die after they do their spawning? And
I
I don't,
just heard something
I'm not
about
a,
that today. I
I'm
was
not a
listening to somebody
biologist, but
talk about it. I
but
think
I
that
think
I think when we fight against what we're supposed to do, eventually you
right.
just,
That's yeah, I mean that's the end result, but it's a lot of work. But I want to key in on this because so many people use this phraseology, as do I, that our nervous systems are out of regulation, out of balance, all of that. We need to regulate our nervous systems. And some people hear that and just there's a lot of buzzwords that we use in new thought. So explain in third grade terms what exactly you mean by your nervous system being unregulated or out of whack.
So I think what it is because we're always in fight or flight. People are always rushing in scarcity. That's another thing, like being in scarcity. People live in
Hmm.
scarcity. What's going on in the world? You feed your mind all this like stuff that you put in, everything we put in our body, from what we see to what we hear to what we eat. It's all just controlling us in a way.
Yeah.
And I think that we are so used to walking around, really not even taking breaths during the day. I know I used to do that until now. I
Yeah.
really understand and use breath work and how it really helps you to just calm down.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
all of our trauma that we carry stores also in our fascia, our nervous system. So,
Yeah.
you're carrying around anger, it's in your body, and you need to understand where that stores so that you don't get physically ill. And that's
Yeah.
all part of the whole healing journey. It's not just let's talk about it. Now let's remove it out of our body. Let's
Right.
get that anger so it's not stagnant energy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's about, and it's not easy to, it's You know what it is? It's learning to face the things that come to us, but I guess what it is dealing with it differently. And
Yeah.
that's more what the easiest way of regulating our nervous system is. If you're getting triggered by something, instead of just going from 0 to 60, it's almost like looking at, what is this trying to teach me? What
Mm,
is this issue trying to teach me? And then reacting to it differently. That's
mhm.
the quickest way to kind of learn to regulate how we deal with things.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that 100%. I say that the feminine is in the body, the masculine is in the head, and we need both. And yet, every experience that we've ever had is downloaded into the body. And if we don't start listening to her, because she knows everything, and you know that, you listen to
Yeah,
your throat, you listen to your thyroid. And I love Louise Hay because she talks about all of these various ways that our body talks to us, and yet we don't listen, and then we go and get
right.
a pill so we can
Even
stop
when,
doing
you
it.
know what, too, it is, even when you make a decision, I have learned our body tells us what we want to do way before.
Yep.
And now
Yep.
I'm very aware of that and I honor that. If
Yep.
someone asks me to do something, I'm understanding who I am and understanding my makeup, my human design, doing a lot of the work. But I understand I make my decision from my sacral. Like I know it and I make it from an emotional. So for me, if it's no, it's no. There's no changing my mind. It's not sitting right with me. And the great thing about it is honoring that, because so many
Yes.
times we don't, and we people
Yep.
please, we do things that we don't want to do, and it never works out good that way. So now I've learned to honor, to say, if it feels no to me, then it's no. And if it
Yeah.
feels, if it, and your body's so smart, if it feels
Hmm.
right to you, even a big decision,
Yeah.
I've made I've made decisions even financially, with maybe investing into my business, or invest, because I'm a coach, but I have a coach. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I have a business
Yeah.
coach. Just because teach people, well, there's things in my life that I need a coach, and I have no problem with having people continuously grow me. But when it fails right to me, I
Yeah.
know that God and the universe, however people identify, it's going to follow through with that. But
Yeah.
if your body's telling you no, and I do think the biggest thing people have a hard time with is trusting that intuition.
Yeah.
But the more
Absolutely.
you get to know who you are on a soul level, your intuition is your greatest asset for things.
Absolutely. I
It really
think
truly
I say
is.
that's, yeah, one of our feminine energy geniuses: intuition, compassion, connection, flow. And intuition is my favorite. And so I'm going to ask you to drop down into your intuition right now and give a wisdom nugget to the audience that your intuition is calling you to share with us about 2026.
So I think for women in 2026, I think to be honest, to really truly understand this. As women, we have always self-sacrificed and felt like we were doing the right thing by everyone by doing that, but we're not. Taking care of yourself, understanding self love, self worth, and not self sacrifice is the most beautiful thing you can do for everybody in your life, because truly you cannot pour from an empty cup. And also to be present. And I know that's so hard for people to be present, but
Mm-hmm.
everything that we overthink, and I'm reading a really great book, I'll tell you what it is, and I'm learning a lot from it. Everything that we think in our head is because they're past things that happened, whether in our life, past lives, and that's why we're fearing them. It's not real. It's not really
Mm-hmm.
real because it's not even happening here. And then our future, if we really understand the power we have to make that future how we really want it to be, by truly embodying and getting to know who you are, then there's no need to have that anxiety. It's the biggest journey, if I could tell anyone to find in 2026, is find your way from here to here.
Mhm.
From our head, which is our ego, it's blocking, to our heart and our soul. And it's the longest journey. But once you get here, there's a peace and a freedom that comes with it. And it's a daily journey. Sometimes you're popping between both, but you start just like anything else. It's like a muscle, it's like a new diet, it's like the gym. The more you do it, the more you embody that life. The more you embody that presence.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. What great words to start 2026 with, even though we're a whole month into it. And I really want to thank you again, Joelle, for being my guest and give us an opportunity to know where we can find you, how to work with you, and all of it'll be in the show notes, but you can share
Yeah.
with us right now.
So also too, if anyone's interested, if they go on divinitylifecoach.com, you can download a free shadow book. For anyone who
Okay.
doesn't understand what shadow work is, it's just a tiny little book. It's a free ebook that gives you an idea of what it is. Okay. And I have some really great courses on there too for people who might want to start doing this work but aren't ready to speak their truth. I have a course called The Sacred Mirror, and it really is just, you download it, there's some videos of me on there explaining things. It kind of helps you to work through some shadows, some inner child stuff, just to kind of open yourself up. And then after that, I work with people in usually like 3 months, because I'm really transformational. So it's not like I'm going to see you for, one session. This is for people who really want to embody their path and really, understand their truth. But, divinitylifecoach.com is my website, and I have everything listed there. And then I have some great books that if anybody wants to read, like I said, for inspirational. My newest release is The Journey to the Authentic Soul, and it's on Amazon, but it's about the masks we pick up from our trauma and how
Mhm.
we can learn to take them off and be that authentic soul.
All right. Well, everybody go check it out. The information is
Thank
in the
you.
show notes. And I
Yeah.
am so excited that you had given us a moment of your time today because
Thank you so
lots
much
of
for
great
having me.
wisdom. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank